Welcome to the Queer Compass. I'm Luis.
I'm Eric, and we're your two gay besties.
And we're here to talk about lifestyle, career, pop culture, and everything else. Yes!
Halloween weekend was super fun.
Yes. What'd you do?
It wasn't too... Well, it was a little bit wild. Friday night, we went to Horse Meat Disco and stayed kind of late. So it was really fun, super crowded, sold out. There was a lot happening around town, all weekend. It's Halloween weekend.
No, literally.
You know?
Yeah.
It's like every single day there was something happening. So I was like, oh, maybe some of the things will be thinner and more spread out. And it was packed.
You know what's
everywhere
so funny?
I went.
Actually, now that you say that, literally on my way home, I was listening to a different podcast, a tech and business podcast. And they were talking about how Halloween has survived inflation, is one of the industries that has really survived inflation over the past I want to say 2 years. They were saying maybe 3. The amount spent on Halloween has been and is still this year projected to be $11.6 billion, and that has remained a constant. Isn't that insane?
It's probably okay, so if you get invited to a party and it's an ugly sweater party, you're going out and you're buying an ugly sweater.
Yeah.
Or if you're invited to a masquerade party or whatever, you the FOMO for Halloween is real because people want to be you want to do the thing, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the reasons why. But yeah, the economics of Halloween is wild to me.
And that's why it's so funny because I'm people are still, amidst everything, still buying tickets to the shows, still buying costumes, still going all out, especially in LA, right? LA, I just feel everyone's the creative aspect of LA inspires people to kind of go all out, whether they're making it so they buy the materials or they, buy the costume itself, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So it is crazy to see because it was pretty busy this weekend. I've also never been to a Horse Meat Disco. So
no?
Yeah, was it fun though?
Really fun.
Yeah.
The music is just so good. They used to do it in warehouses here in LA.
Yeah.
And then they switched it to Catch One. It's a regular venue.
Yeah.
But there's multiple rooms and multiple DJs. It's really fun.
Oh my God.
Come to the next one.
Yeah, I should definitely check it out.
Yeah, you guys would like it.
Yeah.
What did you do?
Yeah, on Friday we went to Halloweeny, which I had never been to before.
Fun.
That was fun. People were definitely dressed up. It was a whole vibe. They had little performances and things happening, and it was cute. I had, I feel usually on Halloween I just either end up going out or go to a house party or whatever. So it was cool to go to a Halloween event, So that was really fun. And then we also had a friend's Angel's birthday on Sunday.
Fun.
Yeah, shout out to Angel, happy birthday. But yeah, his birthday, and we went to this place. Have you been to Calaveras in Silver Lake?
Not yet.
Or Los Feliz, I guess. I don't know.
Not yet.
But it's actually really cute. So a friend of ours works there, and Angel was trying to find, he's what's the easiest, most convenient place to go to for brunch, while still obviously keeping it fun and vibey. It's a cute little Mexican themed restaurant, cute decor, good space, indoor, outdoor, and it was $40 for unlimited, for a buffet and bottomless mimosas. Okay, and the buffet, they had a taco guy, they had ceviche, they had aguachiles, they had mole, they had all these things. Okay, the food was pretty decent, for a buffet. I was very surprised at the array that they had, and again, it was $40 for everything, and we got bottomless mimosas. So I was wait, this is cute, and it was actually right nearby Hot Dog Sunday, so we ended up going to Hot Dog Sunday.
Yes.
afterwards.
Wait, what's the place called?
Calaveras. Yeah.
Okay, I'll definitely check it out.
Yeah, it was cute. Yeah, it was cool.
We ran into you guys at Hot Dog.
Fun. Oh my gosh, Hot Dog.
Yeah. Did you guys end up dancing later?
Honestly,
or did
no,
you
not really.
You didn't dance?
Oh my God, come Sunday. Okay, because also Saturday we did Brett had a little thing at his place.
Okay.
For Halloween / Angel's birthday, and then we ended up going to West Hollywood, and oh my gosh, it was a whole thing. We ended up at Heart until wee hours of the night, and come Sunday by I don't know what time it was, 7 or something. I was hey to the group, I'm gonna go home. And I literally called an Uber, hopped in, and left because I was I'm so I just wasn't there. I was so tired, and I was I knew I had a big week ahead, so I was I just need to go home. So I came home, made some noodles.
Yeah.
And then I knocked out, which was
Oh my gosh.
gorgeous. It was beautiful.
Yeah, 3 days of Halloween is good.
Yeah. When Halloween falls on a weekday, it feels longer because it's just stretched out. Everyone's just doing Halloween for like 2 weeks essentially. You know? But when it's on a weekend, it's like, a little different. But yeah, so it's fun.
And I know it's not a Halloween movie, but I did go see Venom 3.
Okay, how is that?
It's good. To cap it off, they ended this portion of his storyline. I loved the first one. I liked the second one, and this one, had to see it.
Yeah.
To finish it off, but it's a fun popcorn movie. Marvel, Disney, they do such a good job.
Very silly.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
I've never seen them, but it seems very silly, very funny, but very Marvel actiony. So
yeah, it's
cool.
Actually the first one and Doctor Strange. I don't really get into Marvel movies, but those two in particular I do like a lot. But there's 38 or 39 movies and like multiple series. If you wanted to catch up with the whole Marvel universe, you would have to watch like hours and hours and hours of film. So I am not caught up.
Yeah. Oh, I'm nowhere near.
Bits and pieces here and there for the fun stuff.
I do enjoy a good Marvel movie. I do not watch them avidly, and I'm definitely not caught up. Like, I don't know all the storylines, and I know they intertwine and the whole thing, which is amazing, but I do enjoy them. I just I'm not like following the whole thing. You know? Well, I did see a Halloween movie.
Did you?
Oh my gosh. Terrifier 3. Okay?
I can't believe you did this.
I can't either. So listen, let me explain, because this was not my movie of choice. And for you horror fans out there, hey, work. It's your thing, right? So Jordan, our friend Jordan, is very much a spooky season girly, to the T. And Fruit Punch, the four boys, were like, we should watch. Jordan was like, we should have a Fruit Punch night, hang out. Let's go watch a movie. And we're like, oh my God, amazing. And he's like, let's watch a scary movie. And we're like, oh my God, amazing. And he was, let's go watch Terrifier 3.
Oh my God.
I was like, none of us knew what it was about. Okay. None of us knew really anything about it. Except for Art the Clown, who we knew Jordan loved. Jordan shows me a scene beforehand at brunch, and I was like, turn that off. I was like, turn that off right now. I'm literally, this girl's screaming, we're at brunch, and I cannot watch the rest of it. And he's like, but it gets better. And I'm like, no. I don't need to know. I literally do not need to know. And for sake of the pod, I will not go into detail. But I just want to say that I will not be watching that again. It just was not my vibe, and it was so, for me it's like, I like suspense horror type of movies, psychological thrillers. Like, I think the gore for me doesn't do it. It's like it's so much gore, which again, work, everybody has their thing.
When there's a scary movie or someone has an axe and they chop, and it's like that you hear the sound but they cut away, you don't see it. I'm okay with that. But when the visual and the sound are on screen, I'm like, my skin is crawling. I can't.
And there's another layer to that. You chop, the head gets cut off, and you see it move. Scene ends. Okay.
Yeah.
This was like, oh, we don't end there. Okay. It's 10 more minutes of more. I don't need to see the whole thing. I was like, I think we were good. I think they're dead. It's fine.
We got it.
And I was like, I don't need to see all that. That's crazy. Oh my God. It's just, I don't need to see 10 minutes of somebody dying.
Did you all sit through it? Did no one had to leave the room? Were people screaming in the audience?
Okay, actually, it wasn't that busy of a night. We went on a random Wednesday or something like that.
Okay, even scarier.
Right. I guess you're right. Yeah, there were. What's funny is there were some moments that, as gory as they were kind of. Okay, Art is such a campy character. He's so campy. So that part, I was like, it was kind of funny and silly, because I was like, oh my God, he is being so silly. But then obviously it gets very gory. But there were some things that even the audience was kind of chuckling at. So that kind of made it a little more that part was fine. And then the gore would happen, and literally Jordan would be sitting there unfazed or laughing at us, because the three of us were cringing in our seats, shrinking into a ball, being like, what is happening right now? And Jordan's just like, okay.
A true horror fan.
I know. Couldn't be me, but work.
I wanted to mention, I saw Shawn Mendes' video recently. Did you see it?
Okay, I heard I saw the headlines. I didn't look into it
Okay.
Yeah.
It's just a short clip. It was his concert at Red Rocks.
Oh, I did see this.
He was strumming on the guitar. He was like, he kind of opened up about his sexuality. He was like, I'm just trying to figure things out like everybody else. Da, da, da. He didn't say anything super specific, but it was like very much so implied. And I scrolled through some of the comments on the internet, and some people are like eye rolling and be like, "We knew, girl," and I'm just like, leave her alone.
Leave her alone.
I'm just
literally.
Like, it's hard enough to come out. I can't imagine what it is like to be ultra famous musician and
have to deal with that.
Being like your manager being like, okay, well, this might affect business or what. You don't know what's happening behind the scenes. Yeah. And so it's got to be difficult. I am sure it was difficult for me, and I'm not famous.
And it's unfortunate that even though, let's say, I don't know where he lives or whatever, but even though, the industry is full of queer people these days, there still is across, let's say, even just the United States, right? Like, there still are markets, quote unquote, that would not want that type of artist, right? Or, because these artists are going on tour, their job is to sell tickets and yada yada, the whole thing, right? So it is unfortunate that does still come into play. Yeah. So yeah, I agree. It's hard in general to come out to be someone who's put in such a spotlight and to be not even just sexuality wise, but just nitpicked at everything. Yeah. I can only imagine how hard that is. And it's okay, I understand everyone makes comments here and there, but this has gotten to the point where it really is girl, just leave him alone. Let him, what does it matter?
I always wonder because my dad still likes Elton John. And Elton John is gay, and so I feel like when some of these musicians or stars reach this pinnacle status, it doesn't matter. Whereas I feel like some a new or upcoming artist, the female attraction might be. Actually, let's ask our listeners. If you're a female listener, pop in the comments. I'm curious. Does your sexual appeal actually matter that much where you're like, oh, I won't listen to this artist? Or do you listen to them less? Or, I would love to know people's honest answers because I'm curious. Yeah.
Well, not to speak for anybody else, but for myself, right? For me, it's not a do or die. I do not have to be, I guess, attracted to you to listen to you or to watch you or to whatever it is, as an artist. But I will say naturally as a society and naturally in myself, we are the kind of people that is an additional kind of appeal, right? So it's oh, this person can sing, oh my god, and he's really cute, of course I want to watch him, yeah. So there definitely is, at least I feel, that element of it. But again, it's not if I'm out here oh yeah, I'm not attracted to you, I'm not going to listen to your music. No, because if I love your voice, if I'm oh my gosh, or I love the music you produce or the beat or whatever it is, not every artist I listen to I'm attracted to in that way. You know what I mean?
You go to different artists
for different things.
For example, I went to the Paris Hilton concert last week.
Work, yes.
And it was cute. It was fun. It was very silly. I did not go to hear her sing.
Right.
We all went to see Paris Hilton on stage performing.
To put on a show.
Yes.
Right.
Now, so to say oh, would you have gone to that concert if you were not attracted to her?
But I get what you're saying.
I mean?
There's different expectations, or you get something different out of different artists.
Totally.
And that's fine, right? Because I know a lot of people like to say even for Britney, let's say, they're oh, but Christina was such a better vocalist, or oh, but Britney was just a performer. But yes, we went to go see her perform, and you go to Christina to hear her belt. There's, every artist has their thing, and that's what you get attracted to, you know?
Totally.
But you cannot deny that these people have a star quality.
Right.
Whatever.
Oh, for sure.
Whatever that is, Yeah. And that's just something that you cannot teach.
Right, yeah. Without that X factor, the math doesn't work.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh my God, I love that. Okay, well, for this week's episode of the podcast, we have a little lifestyle topic for you. Just about, we had a chat recently working out in the gay community. So let's take a listen.
Yes.
So we do want to talk about, I guess, our experience day to day, and also our experience in fitness, health and wellness, what our routine looks like, and kind of what it looks like in the gay community, especially for, both of us living in West Hollywood of Los Angeles.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a lot that you and I talk about on just a day-to-day because it's a big part of our lives.
Yes.
So it'll be kind of fun to share.
I know that working out is part of your daily life because of work, but what are some of the things that keep you motivated? Why do you work out? Like, where did it all come from? I guess, where did it start even?
Getting down to the root of it all. No, I love. I say this all the time. I have always been an active person. I think I've just always been a ball of energy, for lack of a better term, I guess. When I was younger, honestly, like I remember my parents bought me a Game Boy because they thought that, all my cousins had one and everyone was playing video games. I played with that thing for maybe like an hour, not even. And I left it there and never touched it again. My dad was like, okay, so video games are not the move. Like,
oh my God, that's hilarious.
I just wanted to be outside. I wanted to be playing. I grew up playing sports, soccer, basketball, baseball, all this stuff. And then I found dance in high school. And then after that, I found fitness, So that has led me to, pursue a career in fitness.
Yeah.
Dance actually did. So I started obviously moving to LA as a dancer, started working at a gym on the side, fell in love with fitness, and now it really is such a big part of my routine. I think being able to share that energy and that motivation to get moving and to, especially in such a static lifestyle that a lot of us live,
Totally.
If I can help share and make that process fun, because I know that for a lot of people it's hard, to get yourself there. And my biggest thing is like, I just want to make it fun and enjoyable for people. Like I say this so many times in my class. I'm like, the hardest part is getting here sometimes.
Yeah.
And then once you're here, let's blast the music. Let's have a party. Let's work it out. Like, let's do the thing,
Yeah, you're already here.
You're already here. So let's just do it. And this is 45 minutes, 50 minutes, an hour, whatever it is, dedicated to you. Like, you just get to have fun for you.
I miss taking your classes so much. Oh my God.
You gotta come through sometime, Eric. You gotta come through sometime, anytime. But yeah, that's really it. And as a dancer, as a performer, as somebody who loves music, like I am fueled by the music that gets played in class. I'm fueled by not only, but I do love a rhythmic class. Yeah. Whether it's cycling, whether it's cardio dance, or whether it's even like a sculpt to the beat, whatever it is. Like, I love playing with that. I also love the non musical classes, right? Like, it doesn't have to be that. But again, as a dancer, as a performer, and as somebody who gets to share that with other people, and I love it, and I think other people love it too. So.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that's why your classes are full.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes. Yeah. If it wasn't working, your classes would be empty.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, that's so good. That's so good.
Yeah, and then last thing I'll say on that is just that it's hard when it is part of your career. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I feel like I teach so many classes, and I love it. Don't get me wrong, but it is a lot of energy that you expend to other people to share that then when it gets down to working out for myself, I'm like, I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
And sometimes there are moments, I go through waves where it is really hard to motivate myself and to get to the gym outside of class.
I'm sure.
Yeah. And it's like, in a way, I'm lucky that sometimes I get to actually get my workout in the class. It really just depends on the class. Cycling, for instance, obviously I'm on the bike a lot more. I'm working out, but I don't always do the workout in class. I'm monitoring, I'm walking around, the whole thing, checking form and whatnot. So yeah, sometimes it feels like I go weeks without working out for myself, even though I feel like I'm still active.
Yeah.
So it is a big difference. Yeah. It's about finding that kind of motivation to keep going, which again, for me, sometimes that's why I love group fitness, because even in the moments where I feel like I only have X amount of energy to give, I can go into a class. I can shut my brain off for a little bit. I can go do the thing, and then I can come out being like, hey, some movement was better than none.
Being able to shut your brain off is like, that's one of my key motivators. Well, let me back up. Mm-hmm. When I first started working out in my early 20s, I took a weightlifting class in high school, which like taught me form, kind of got me into the world of weightlifting.
Yeah.
And then, in your early 20s, I was very quickly exposed to like expectations in the gay community. I thought that, hey, if you want to increase the probability of like having sexual partners, you better look good. And so
real.
that was an initial motivator for me. Not a long lasting one. That doesn't last very long. It's not a long-term motivator. So now more of my motivators are like health, wellness, especially the mental health portion of it, because the hour that I choose to work out is super early in the morning and there's very few people there. And it is the only time of day where I'm not constantly talking and like having to interact and make decisions. It's literally time for me, and I run into some people and I say hello and there is some social aspect, but really it is my only alone time every day.
Wow. Yeah, absolutely.
And so like that is what I look forward to. Do I enjoy waking up at 5? Never. 0 times does that happen.
Yeah.
But like when I'm there, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is my me time, you know? So I really value that. And that's definitely one of my big motivators for sure.
I love that. And that's exactly what it should be. Like, I don't know. I feel, I come across a lot of different clients that come into my class and it's like, sometimes it's a mom or a dad with a newborn or something, and the mom literally comes into class and she's like, this is my hour to myself and I'm going to make the most of it. And I'm like, well then girl, we're about to have a party because like, this is your time, you know? And it's exactly that. It's not just physical, it's mental. A lot of it really is. So being able, I like to remind my clients and those who come work out with me that like this is such a thing to be grateful for, that we get to come in, make this decision to take time for ourselves and move our bodies and do something for us. And I think we should remember that we should enjoy it, right? Like it should be fun in some way or another.
Let's move on. Why is working out in gay culture so major?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. No, literally. And it's funny because again, we talk about this a lot. And like you were saying, initially when you started working out, that was a big part of it, right?
Totally.
And I didn't start working out until I was 22. At that point, like really working out with weights and the whole thing, I was always active through sports and dance. But by the age of 22, I was well out of the closet. I was in my, just gay self. And yeah, you start realizing that there is this pressure to be at a certain standard in the gay community.
Yeah.
And, I didn't really know why necessarily either. I just it was a thing that we grew up in, and I started like looking into it, and a lot of like people and sources were saying that it was mainly a source of survival, which is crazy.
Yeah.
It makes so much sense, obviously, right? When you break it down, it's like originally the idea was to mimic the straight male. And initially I started thinking, okay, like, in a corporate job, like you want to make sure you look masculine, you want to make sure you blend in the way they walk, the way they talk, the way they look, like you don't want to look too flamboyant, like because it was at some point you were not allowed to be gay, so there's definitely that. And then I started looking into it further, and they were even bringing up the example of like middle school PE, physical education classes, and it's like in the locker room, who was bullied, the scrawny little boy or maybe the flamboyant boy or like whatever it was. But if you were very active, if you were athletic, if you were quote unquote masculine, then you weren't bullied. So the idea was that like you were stronger and quote better, right? So I think that from that age, it kept bleeding into adulthood. Gay men were trying to really mimic that.
And even like getting picked last in PE class, or, like even being picked in the middle. I remember being like, I wasn't picked first, and that's not a gay or straight thing. That's just a kid thing,
But, and that it goes back to the idea that as humans, we really just want to fit in.
Yeah.
We want to fit into society. We want to be a part of society. Like we don't want to be excluded. So we think that we have to do these things to fit in and to be accepted by our peers in our environment.
Definitely.
And also, I think it was the idea that gay men were aspiring to be what the media represented as like a beautiful or successful or whatever good looking man. And that was always the straight male. Right? So like as gay men, you're trying to pursue that and you're trying to be that. And in that, it's like, especially in the past, there wasn't as much representation for gay males. And we're still working on that now, right?
Yeah.
But like there is at least a little more now. It was very hard to see somebody in that position. So that was just, I think, generally frowned upon. And you didn't want to be like left out.
Yeah, there were like comedians and jokes about like, flimsy gay men, and that was like the butt of the joke.
It was the stereotype, right?
Yeah.
And it's like it was the stereotype that like the gay male was the flamboyant, like sassy, exactly, flick of a wrist, like you know, like that whole thing. And it's like, while I don't think necessarily, not always, I guess, those jokes weren't always meant with like malintention. It was like, I guess, supposed to be endearing sometimes, depending.
Yeah.
But I guess it was supposed to be endearing, but at the same time, it still brings it back to the fact that like that was what gay men were seen as.
Right.
So I think people were trying to be like, well, I'm a gay man and I'm not like that.
Right. Yeah. I think, and especially because social media nowadays is like, you know, so prevalent. There are so many different types of people in every subculture and community. I think back in, you know, 1995, 1999, when Will and Grace was on the air, love Will and Grace.
Love.
Oh my God,
yes.
But for people like my parents who are in Missouri, that was their only indication of what a gay person could look like. Yeah. And so that was like the one, you know, representation was just kind of beginning around then, which I'm so thankful for. But there are so many different types of gay people.
And it's funny because I know we know this, but it's things like that where like your parents in Missouri watching this show about gay males, that was their only real like exposure to it. It's like, this is why representation matters.
Yeah.
This is why it's so important, and not just in the gay community, but in general, right? Race, age, like everything, every demographic. I'm like, we need the representation because it's just natural that in certain geographical locations, you're going to be surrounded by one or the other just by the way that people migrated to one space. Now, of course, with the internet and with access to travel and all that stuff, people are moving elsewhere, but that wasn't as common before, right? And I do think it's interesting how, you know, it started as survival, and I understand that, but now we're at a point where some of it still is, but now we're at a point where, especially in a big metropolitan city like Los Angeles, and especially in West Hollywood, now it's not so much about survival, or even if it partly is, it's developed, right? Now it's just a matter of like the expectation. Like you hear guys all the time being like, no, I like men because I want a man, right? Yeah. Or like, I don't want a feminine boy or whatever it is, right? The mask for mask, like whatever it is, you know? So I think it's crazy how from that, the root of that has now developed into just like the expectation in the society. Yeah,
totally. I mean, dating apps, all these things, you know, the first picture that people post is of their torso.
Torso pics.
And it's like, that's what people are putting on Front Street. So it's like, that is a very strong message that like, hey, this is important to me. So it better be important to you. Even like, it's funny, we're talking about comedy, but yeah, like Michelle Wolf or, you know, like all these comedians will be like, oh yeah, my gay friend, or oh my gosh, these gay guys out here like being so fit and stylish. There's like, there is this very prescribed personality that we all like, funny and fierce and like are in the gym all the time. But I think we do it to ourselves too.
Yeah. That's so funny because I think there was, I can't remember who it was exactly, but there was a male comedian who kind of made a joke and was like, man, I want to be as fit and as fashionable as like gay men, you know? Like, and it's exactly that, right? Like it's the stereotype, but also we continue to go into that stereotype, or we continue to work to that stereotype because now I feel like it's within the community. Right? That expectation.
When you go to a nightclub that has go-go dancers, they're always extremely fit. When you go to a party for New Year's, the poster is someone who has utilized enhancers like all the time. It's just everywhere for us. I mean, of course, like the phrase sex sells, I get it, but it is like, it is taken to, I do think it's taken to the extreme for gay men. All
the media, all the exposure, all the flyers, all the whatever it is, promo that you see is all very fit, you know, muscular dudes. I do feel like certain pockets of places are starting to diversify their, let's say, go-go dancers and things. But I still think majority is the mold.
Totally.
Like what, 95% of it still is? Maybe that 5% has like extra, or if it's like I think we were talking about this before, like if it was a bear night or if it was a tween, whatever it is, right? Unless it's a very specific like event or audience.
Right.
The go-to is still that standard of like the buff bodybuilder type or whatever.
Yeah, for sure. It is. It really is. I think at this point we can say it out loud. That like on these posters out in the wild, we see nowadays more steroid use than ever before.
Yeah.
I think there was an article even in GQ recently that I was reading. I think it was GQ, but it was about steroid use and like why it's all of the sudden more popular. I do think it's happening now in the past like 3 to 5 years. And in this article, they were talking about how fitness influencers on social media who were saying like, oh, eat broccoli and chicken and brown rice and you can get this body. And people in the comments were like, that's not how you're getting that body. You're using steroids. People were calling them out. And so then people were encouraging, hey, you just need to be transparent. So fitness influencers started being transparent about steroid use, being like, hey, go ahead and adjust your expectations. I use steroids. And instead of people adjusting their expectations, what happened was people just started using steroids. And so it's become this more kind of normalized thing where there are a lot of enhancers, steroids, SARMs. I mean, there's so many different versions of these substances that can enhance and plump people up in a short period of time. And, you know, I don't think I have to say this out loud, but there are huge costs to doing anabolic steroids or SARMs that are, you know, sometimes considered safer. Like there are mental health problems, there's erectile dysfunction problems, there's life expectancy problems, there's heart issues, there's so many issues with that form of body modification.
Yeah, it's really, really hard, like coming from somebody who works in fitness as well, where like there's this expectation to look and be a certain way. Like I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm gonna be honest, like even working in fitness in LA, there's so many times that I've walked into like a shoot or, you know, even a gym that I work at or whatever it is, like anything, any fitness environment. There are times, and I know it's in my head, no one judgment but myself, but my own. But I walk into these environments sometimes and I just think, man, I don't feel like I'm up to par with everyone else. You know, everyone else is so big. Everyone else is so buff. Everyone else is, you know, weighs a lot more muscle than I do. And I need to let that go. And I do. I feel like I do overall a good job of kind of acknowledging it and acknowledging the fact that this is just the pressure that I think I need to be putting on myself. It's, you know, of course, I'm like, okay, how many people in this industry are on steroids? How many people in this room are on steroids? And I just cannot get myself to get over all of the things that come with it. I'm like, for me, it's just not worth it. And it's crazy because I know people so young now, maybe this has always been the case, but so young are also using it. Like I remember I was literally watching this Instagram reel of this guy going around the gym asking people like, hey, have you ever used steroids? Do you use steroids? Like, you know, would you be down to talk about it? There was literally this like 18, 19-year-old boy who was like, yeah, I've used, like I use them. And he's like, well, you know that it's meant or your life expectancy goes down. And he straight up was like, yeah, I don't really mind. And he was like, so you don't care? And he's like, no, I think I'm going to keep doing it. I just like want to be fit, look good, you know, whatever. And I'm like, I know he's not the only one who thinks like that.
I wish I could understand that thought process that happens. Like I was looking at pictures. I follow this like retro West Hollywood Instagram. They like post pictures of like old buildings and old businesses and da-da-da-da. They had during Pride, they always do like 90s Pride photos. And there's, you know, lots of shirtless men who are, I think the look that was celebrated back then was kind of like thin, skinny twink-ish, but fit was the look. And that version of fit from the 90s and this version of fit that we have now 30 years later, holy mackerel, there is a huge drastic aesthetic change that we have done to our community. It is so different. When I went to that horse meat disco, I think it was June of 2023, there were 2,000 people there. And one of my friends turned to me who was visiting and said, is this a party for models? Because there were so many people there who were like beefed up and plumped up, like so big. I was like, of course we're having this conversation right now. It's happening. You know?
100%. That is so crazy. And yeah, I guess when you think about it back then, like the idea, again, going back to like media and what media is representing as like sexy, you had like John Travolta, Mick Jagger, like it was way thinner fit, but thinner, like skinny, honestly, like small waisted guys, you know?
Yeah.
And then you have Arnold Schwarzenegger, who comes in, was literally found Gold's Gym, like bodybuilder, was made into this actor. Everyone was like, oh, he's so sexy. And like, that was a while ago. But like, even though I feel like now you do see a little bit of both, there still is this majority, I guess the standard still being that like very fit, very muscular, very quote unquote manly guy.
I think it takes a lot of conscious effort to be like, this is the reason that I'm going to the gym.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to look like Dwayne The Rock Johnson. You know what I mean?
Right. Like, yeah.
I have to think to myself, hey, my goals are associated with like health, wellness, my mental health, that alone time that I get. These are the reasons that I'm doing this for me.
Yeah.
That like external expectation, you know, that is a temporary motivator that in terms of longevity doesn't last as long as some of those other internal motivators that are sometimes harder to find.
To be honest, in the society we live in and how we grew up and all that stuff, I think no matter what, there's going to be a level of superficiality to it.
Yeah.
And I think that's okay. I think that's fine. I think, you know, you can't beat yourself up for being like, I want to look good, because, hey, we all want to feel good. We want to walk down the street confidently. Like, we all want to feel hot. You know what I mean? Like, that's fine. But I agree with you where like, we can't let that be the main thing. We can't just be like, oh, I just want to crush my body or make it go through all these crazy things because I want to look hot.
Yeah.
It's like, I want to maybe feel stronger. I want to be active for my family, my kids, my whatever it is, like walk around comfortably without my knees hurting or whatever it is. You know, like there's so many other things that can be our motivator. It doesn't have to just be aesthetic, but I think it's okay to acknowledge that like there might be a little bit of other parts in there. Right.
Yeah.
Like, I will say I'm grateful that I'm somebody who just loves being active. I love being outside, hiking, walking, running, whatever. Take me to the beach. Like, and I think that will always be my motivation, will be to be outside and to be able to be active as long as possible. While also, you know, like for me, it's a big part of seeing family members grow older and seeing them go through physical pain and all that stuff. And I'm like, maybe they weren't as active, you know, in their lifespan, but my family members who really are active and who walk every day, like I see them as they get older have less of that pain.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of what I like aspired to have.
I think that actually brings us kind of to the next section where it's like options, like what can you do? Like there are so many things in terms of fitness that are available.
And that's what I love about the fitness game right now.
Yeah.
That's what I love. Okay. Like it's hard because it's competitive and there's all these things happening, but that's like anything, right? There's so many different options, but at the same time, and that's, I say the competitive side because as someone who works in it, right? Like you're trying to find your way in. I think as just like the consumer who wants to be healthy and active and is trying to find their like way to do that, some people hate the treadmill. And the great news is, you do not have to do the treadmill to be in shape, or you do not have to do the treadmill to get your cardio in. You know what I mean? There's so many different avenues. I mean, alone, I teach cycling, cardio, dance. I teach bar burn. Like I teach, you know, sculpt. I teach weightlifting. I teach HIIT. There's so many different options. I feel that like if you're rhythmic, find a music-based class.
Yeah.
Maybe the steppers, take it back, jazzercise, like, I don't know, they're cycling, you know, like I feel like there's kind of an option for everybody. Now they even have, I think it's row house. They use the rowers. Yeah. There's Versa climbers. Like, I think a lot of times we still think that we have to work out at the gym on our own, or like we have to just do the one class that we've heard of, but no, there's so many options.
Yeah. And there's like at your gym, there's likely a full schedule of courses. And I loved going to classes and kind of just chilling in the back and being like, do I even like this? You know, you don't have to be front in the middle on your first time. It's like, hey, let me see if I like this. Let me take this cycling class and see if I like it. You know, do it once, do it twice. Give it a chance. But like, if you don't like it, you can move on to something else. There are a zillion different options.
And I think it can be intimidating because sometimes you're like, I don't know how to cycle, or I don't know how to dance, or I don't know how to do this and that.
Yeah.
But like, I have to remind us all that we all started at one point, one time or another, you know? Like the first time I cycled, I remember being like, how do people do this? I remember being like, this is hard, you know, like it's tough, but you do it, you get better every single time. It takes time. We have to be patient with ourselves. But the important thing is that like you are working towards progress.
How many times would you say is there a person in your class for the first time?
Oh, so many.
Like every single time, or like 90% of the time?
Maybe like 85-90% of the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's someone that's like there for the first time in your class.
Yeah, like especially I will say like cycling, because I do teach at a strictly cycling studio, right?
Okay.
So there are more people coming in just to try cycling.
Oh my gosh.
And it's like I get new people all the time. Yeah, almost like every other class there's a new person.
Okay, that's really good to know, because that makes me feel a lot better.
Yeah.
Like, because sometimes you walk in and you're like, everyone knows what they're doing. They're clipping in their shoe. Everybody seems to know what's going on, and I'm like lost.
No, and that's the beauty of it. Like even I go to Soul Cycle and they still will shout out like the new people. I go to Cycle Bar. We have new people all the time. Like I go to Equinox. Equinox like there's people who just joined Equinox who come in and they're like, hey, not even just for cycling, but for anything, right? They're like, I just joined. Like I've never done this type of class before.
Cool.
They come into Pilates for the first time. They do bar for the first time. Like they do HIIT for the first time.
Yeah.
I feel like, and that's the funny thing is we always get into our heads and we always think that like everyone is watching us. We're like, oh my God, everyone's going to watch me like fail. I'm going to be honest. I guarantee you everyone is looking at themselves in the mirror. Everyone's worrying about where their feet are, where their weights are. Like everyone's so focused on themselves. And that's not to say people are selfish. It's not. It's like you're focusing on yourself in that workout. Yeah. That is you time. So like focus on yourself. Yeah. But I think a lot of times we think everyone's watching us, but the truth is everyone's watching themselves. Yeah.
People are huffing and puffing and like, oh my gosh, how am I going to get through this set? Yeah. Okay, let me check out my form. People are not looking at it.
People are not looking. No, like I think I know it's easier said than done, but I try to remind people that, like, especially friends who always like, you know, they're like, I want to take your class, but like, I don't know how to do this. And I'm like, I guarantee you, one, you probably won't be the only new person there. Or even if you are, like, I tell people all the time, there are people who take my class who have knee injuries, who have back injuries, who have shoulder injuries, who aren't going to do everything that I tell them to do in the class. Right. They're going to modify. They're going to do their thing. Oh, yeah. And it's like, if you have to, for instance, cycling, if you have to sit in the saddle while everyone's out for a little bit, you're probably not the only one. Yeah. And it's fine to do it.
Oh my gosh, that's such a good point.
Yeah. I think really it's just about getting over the fear to try something new. Yeah. Because it's like anything, right? Like the first day on a job, you're not going to know everything.
For the first 3 months of the job.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Like you're going to be learning, right? Especially if, let's say, you've never worked in that industry before, or you've never worked in that department before, whatever it is. You're going to be learning for a while. Yeah. But we all, once we get there, right? Once you're in it for a while, you're like, you kind of forget sometimes about the first time you walked in.
Yeah, because it becomes something that you just do.
Yeah. Even if you're doing cycling or if you're doing cardio dance, whatever, if you're working out, let's say even twice or 3 times a week. Mm-hmm. After 6 months, girl, you're going to forget that you even were a newbie. Yeah. You're like, I do this 2 times a week. Yeah. I do this 3 times a week. Like now it's just habit. Now it's, you know, granted, yes, you're still going to get challenged. Maybe you'll do something new, but like you kind of know what to expect.
One thing that really stands out is that like, especially in groups of friends, so, you know, people who are like funny and catty and like silly with each other. Yeah. If someone is subtly or quietly suggesting that they would like to start a fitness journey or get back in the gym or reactivate their like fitness journey, I do think that the one and only response is encouragement. That should be the response for that. A lot of the times it can be like, you know, people can throw around jokes and it can be funny and people will laugh. And then I think it does bring back some of those feelings kind of that you were talking about elementary school of like people doing like side jabs and jokes and picking people last. I think it can like bubble up some of those old feelings of like rejection that we had when we were kids. Yeah. And I think that's super dangerous. So I do think like if somebody says, hey, I'm trying to get back in the gym or I'm trying to eat right, I think encouragement is really the correct response for those things. And, you know, to be a friend and not be a competitor, be a friend in those scenarios when someone's being vulnerable and saying, hey, I want to do something for me.
It's funny when you said the whole, like, even trying to eat healthier thing, because, you know, I've gone through a big shift growing up in, let's say, just, and this is not only, but growing up in a Mexican household, eating a certain way, eating the like Mexican food diet, I really changed the way I ate after a certain point in my life when I really was trying to eat cleaner and just educate myself more on like, you know, a colorful food plate or more greens, more veggies, whatever it is, that I didn't necessarily grow up eating, right? So when I started incorporating that more, I would get comments from friends, family, whatever it is, just kind of being like, again, playful. No one ever stopped me from eating what I wanted, but they'd be like, that sucks for you, or that's really bad, or whatever. Like, I can't believe you're not going to eat this anymore, or whatever. And it's like, that doesn't mean I'm never going to have it again.
Yeah.
That just means in this moment, I don't want it. Or I'm going to shift something, you know? So again, but it brings back that insecurity of like, oh, should I not be doing that? Or I guess it goes back to the idea of wanting to fit in.
Yeah.
When you get teased like that, even if it's playful, when it comes to this kind of thing, you start to think like, am I going to be the outlier here?
Yeah.
And then maybe that's the reason why you don't fully commit to it.
Right.
So I agree. It's very, very important to be supportive, and to encourage in that moment.
Yeah, the gym in general to be a more friendly place. If somebody's like waiting for a machine, like acknowledge them, or like, you know, smiling and saying hello to someone you've seen 10 times at the gym, like that doesn't hurt. Like I think we could all benefit from it being a friendlier place.
I agree 100%. And listen, there are options, like even if it's, I think another thing just to add on to the whole finding your environment, your community in fitness, I think it's also not every gym is going to be the same.
Yeah.
Not every cycle studio is going to be the same. Not every, you know, dance studio is going to be the same. Not every big box gym is going to be the same, like whatever it is. So just because you try one style, maybe there's a brand out there that really fits what you're looking for. Because some brands really are more focused on high intensity workout. Some brands are more focused on just feeling good and creating community. Like some brands, everyone kind of has their thing, you know? And all of our personalities are different. So what might work for somebody else might not work for you.
Yeah.
What a gym that works for somebody else might not work for you, and that's fine. But just know that like that doesn't have to be the end of the journey.
Oh my gosh, yes. Get out there and do it.
I know. Listen, movement is therapy. Movement is therapy. Like we just have to stay moving in whatever way we can.
Yeah.
Be patient with yourself and just stay active.
That's such good advice. I love it.
Okay, that was so cute.
Look, I loved it, didn't you?
Yes.
Music
recommendation of the week.
Diet Pepsi by Addison Rae.
Oh my God, work, Addison Rae.
Yes.
And she just came out with that new one.
Yes, Aquamarine. And like I saw her on some red carpet and she was like, she had dyed her hair fully blonde. She was kind of wearing this like mermaid tail kind of dress gown thingy. And I was like, okay, she's getting into the full promo.
Miss Addison Rae out here.
A true student of pop excellence.
No, literally.
Yeah.
I'm like, she really is doing the whole pop thing.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
What's on your list?
Isn't like anything new necessarily. It was more of, I feel like, a summer song, but I still like find myself playing it, whether it's again, like in a cycle class or whatever, but it's a Karol G song.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. And it's called Si Antes Te Hubiera Conocido, I think is what it is. Like, if I knew you before. And it's a cute little song, you know, but it's just the vibe is so light and fun, and I love it. So it's a good one to just jam to and feel good to.
I feel like I also have to like listen to a Shawn Mendes song now.
Oh my God, 100%.
You know,
I actually really like his music.
Yeah. He's got some new music that I'm not familiar with.
Right.
I've seen him like running around with his little band of brothers, and they're like kind of doing their own little guitar and drums ditty, and I'm not listening. But I feel like, you know, maybe I need to tune in. Yeah,
actually, that's a good idea. I know his older stuff. Like In My Blood and like Stitches and all that, you know, like those I really, really enjoy that vibe.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I don't know much of his new stuff either.
Excellent. Well, don't forget to check us out on socials.
Yes.
Also, this episode's available in full on YouTube for free. Oh, check out our playlist on Spotify.
Yes, the Queer Compass playlist.
The Queer Compass playlist.
Yes. Oh my gosh, and jam out with us, y'all.
Alrighty, we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.